All the world's a stage.
All the world's a stage.
All the world's a stage.
All the world's a stage. And all the men and women, merely players.
Merely players.
Merely players.
Merely players.
Boston Podcast Players.
Hi, I'm Greg Lamb. I am the Artistic Director of the Boston Podcast Players.
Hi, I'm Mara Palma. I'm Managing Director of Boston Podcast Players.
And welcome to our first episode. This is the first episode. Let's go over what the heck we're trying to do. Mara and I met in 2016. We were both part of the Company One, a great theater company in Boston.
Whoop-whoop.
They do a development for playwright program every year called the Play Lab. And we were both members of the Play Lab unit, a group of 8 playwrights that sort of had a year-long writing group and development
Support group.
therapy group.
Encouragement group.
Yeah, for a year. And, they did a lot of going over what it is to be a playwright in Boston. And after that program ended in 2016,
We said,
came the question of,
what's next?
Now what do we do?
Exactly.
We got a good overview of what it is to be a playwright, and it, quite frankly, is not a very sunny landscape.
One of the things we talked about was taking agency of your own work. And if you want to see your works produced, and if sometimes you're not getting any interest from outside parties, we got to do it ourselves.
So that's what this will be. This first season will feature the 8 playwrights in the Play Lab unit, and we'll have an excerpt of the full-length plays that we've been working on, along with interviews and just getting to know all of us better. We hope that this will catch on and people like us, they review us on iTunes and add us to their Twitter feeds and
Subscribe to this podcast.
rate, all that stuff. Give us money on Patreon.
In this age of social media, you can find our info everywhere. So that's what part of the hope is for this podcast.
So if everything goes well, after this initial run of 8 episodes, we will expand the circle and move out from there and find other playwrights in Boston. This is specifically a Boston playwrights podcast. So we're going to say this at the end of every show, but do not send us your scripts because we are not going to have time to get to them. The amount of scripts that an open call would bring, we're
locally grown, Boston talent.
Yeah, we're going to expand the circle through people we know, and that everyone in the first season, we all know different playwrights. We're in writing groups with them. We're just going to expand it that way. We're going to ask for people to pound the table for good plays that they know personally. So where are we now? When I first started proposing the podcast to Mara and recruiting her to help out.
Twist my arm, why don't you?
Just behind the scenes, so far we've done 6 recordings, and we've had 29 different playwrights, actors, and directors help out and lend their talents to us. And that's just an amazing side product of doing this project. With that, let's get to our first playwright. So when we first had this idea of the plays in the Play Lab, the one that stood out as one that would be great to start and make a statement about what we're trying to do would be our first playwright, Mimi Augustin.
Hi.
She is welcome to the Boston Podcast Players.
Thank you.
And I thought it'd be great to start off with because it was a very striking play and had a unique point of view. I think you take us to a place that I don't think we've seen very often. The play is called Shameless Breathing, and it's set in a mental facility. We only meet a few people in the excerpt, but there's a whole cast of, they're all ladies in the facility, and they have different specific and vivid personalities, and they're all from the Boston area. Can you give us an overview of the people in the play?
Yeah, sure. So Shameless Breathing is my baby. It took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and it's still not in its final form. The main character, the protagonist, her name is Nina, and she is a young woman in her late 20s, maybe early 30s, new parent trying to navigate the system of parenthood, self-identity, who you are after you have a child, and your life is revolved around another human being. And finally she has, well, not finally, but at some point she has a bit of a mental breakdown, and she ends up in this facility and is forced to interact with people that wouldn't be in her regular life. And at first she thinks like, oh my gosh, the universe is punishing me. I'm already at this type of facility and now I'm stuck with crazy people. Like denial of who she actually, is, or who's trying to come out of her, or however you want to interpret it. So then she meets a young woman named Kim, who is her roommate, and Steph, who's quite a character you will soon hear. And the three of them are at the core of the story. They're really the main characters. They really balance out the play. But there are several other characters. I can't remember all their names at the top of my head right now. I'm sorry, guys. But there are several characters that represent different aspect of different folks that society has kind of brushed off to the side.
Yeah.
It's the people that we get out of the train station and they're sitting on the bench, and I'm saying we because I'm sure at some point in my life I've done it before, have our own ideas of who these people are without really knowing their stories. And this play kind of gives a glimpse into their lives and their struggles they've gone through that's led them to either a mental facility or being homeless or being violent or talking to themselves. And it's just a little bit of background information, but all tied up with the same journey of self-discovery, self-love, and saying fuck you to society. I'm gonna do my thing anyways. And yeah.
Note to self, let's put a explicit warning on the
Sorry.
No, I'm sure it's in the play too.
Yeah, oh yeah. Sorry.
So the excerpt we're going to do is focuses on Nina and her interactions with the nurse and also her mom, who's sort of a voice in her head.
The mom character is actually the last character to be added to the play, and she actually changed the whole tone of the story. I had 2 professional readings of this play before the mom character, and everyone kept on saying there's something missing, but we couldn't really quite figure it out. I was working with Victoria Marsh. She was my dramaturg, so we couldn't figure out what was missing. And then a friend of mine said, we've heard a lot about Nina and her child and her husband, but she seems to be struggling with a big cultural identity. Where's that coming from? And I said, wait a minute. Mom, my mom, my grandma. And then it was just like a light bulb went off, and I was like, all right. And so Nina struggles with the things that she knows, like modern science, versus her upbringing and things that her mom and her grandma know as fact. For example, Nina's from Haiti, and in Haiti, in small villages where they don't have access to mental health facilities, they truly believe that when what we call postpartum depression is actually caused by breast milk. And they believe that the breast milk can travel, if the woman is too stressed, can travel to her brain and actually affect her personality and make her angry and want to harm her child or herself or the people around her. And at first I thought it was kind of funny when I heard my mom say it. I was like, Mom, stop it. But then the more I spoke to her, not that Nina's me and my mom, that's not what I'm saying at all, but it's loosely based on my life. That's where I'm from. Yes. But I realized that this is something that in my culture, in certain villages, this is gospel. And it's not because...
and it's really harmful to some people.
It's extremely harmful to people. And so I just wanted to explore that a little bit and just have that voice echoing in Nina's head, even though she's dealing with a situation where she's dealing with 2 extremes. On one end, she's been asked to take medication to treat her issues without really understanding what her issues are. And the other end, she's being asked to drink tea, and that will get rid of the milk. That's the core of the root of whatever issue she's dealing with. So she's conflicted and trying to figure out, well, what's going on? What's really wrong with me? So she's searching throughout the story. That was a long answer.
That was great. I'm really glad you mentioned the mom character, though.
Yeah.
Because our actor Diane performed, and you were coaching her actually on the Haitian that you have written in the script. Can you talk a little bit about wanting to write in another language and including that in this piece of exploration about self-identity? And as you said, Nina, like two worlds kind of colliding.
Oh,
Talk
yeah.
a little bit about that.
Sure. Speaking Creole is a big part of my upbringing, of course. And I don't often see it on stage, but I do remember being at a show years ago at Company One. The show, I think it was called You for Me for You, but it was about an immigrant's perspective when coming to America and of trying to navigate her way through, and a bunch of Americans speaking English to her and her not understanding and hearing gibberish, really. So I wanted to play with that on stage a lot, but actually having the Creole voice. And at first I was doing things where her mom, Nina's mom, would speak in Creole and then Nina would respond in English, but like almost translating the question. And then my dramaturg at the time, Victoria Marsh, was like, "You don't need that. That's crap. The audience can figure it out. You don't need to, and if they don't, they can stay for the Q&A and figure out what's going on." But it was really important to me to kind of set the fact that culturally, it's just like couldn't be any more different between Nina and her mom, and the fact that she's again caught between two worlds of like, you know, speaking English fluently versus having to interact with her mom who speaks English but refuses to speak in English. Maybe that's a character secret I should have kept to myself.
You heard it here. Awesome podcast players.
Yeah, so you do realistic and you have some fantastical elements. And
Yeah.
do you like playing around with those types of things?
It's cool to set things in a time frame of like now, but I think visually it's really interesting having flashbacks on stage and how the movement works and how everyone, the whole cast has to really work together to make those transitions very fluid and bringing the audience into different time frames or what's the best way to describe it?
Just playing with time and space.
Playing with time and space,
And
exactly.
stage images too. I think there were some written things that the audience has to read in the script too, if I remember.
Yes.
Would you say this is like this play? We know this play, and the audience of the podcast will hear this play. Is this representative of the other things you like to write, or do you do a lot of different types of things?
I do try to do a lot of different types of things. I recently started to get into writing children's books.
Wow.
And then this summer, I hope to have time to work with my friend who's an artist and try to get like a little, what's the word? I'm blanking on my word. Like a
sample.
A sample,
Okay.
of the ideas that we have to collaborate. So I also write poetry.
Wow.
And I used to do a lot of readings back in the college days. I'm kind of nervous to go on stage now and share it, but I am a poet at heart. That's where my writing started. And then with some of my other plays, I really love dark comedies. So I try to incorporate some type of, there's always like a dark undertone to my writing.
And we should also mention you're a working actress.
Yeah.
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 So you can hire her to be in your thing.
Yay! Hire me.
Constant theme for artists.
Yes.
So what stage is this play at? Is it ready for production, or are you still in workshop mode?
Okay, so we've had several professional readings, and technically it is ready to be on full production mode, but there are some things I want to go back and tweak because the last time I had a reading, we had to talk back and ask audience to give feedback about things that weren't super clear or things that came through. You guys were there. Wait, no, this wasn't a professional reading. So it was with our class that we were in. So since then, I haven't done any editing to it, but I think if I were to submit it to a place where I would want it to be potentially developed, I would definitely go back and really try to see if I can incorporate the positive feedbacks and, constructive criticism that I received and kind of just try to get the play as polished as possible. But the thing is like, as you guys are playwrights as well, you're never fully satisfied and but I'm nervous that I'm just going to go and I think it would need one more editing until I'm like, okay, I can stop, walk away, maybe. Just maybe one more.
So what is the phone call you would most like to get from someone hearing this podcast?
the phone call from here on this podcast.
I've heard this podcast. I'm interested.
Ooh, yeah.
So, what is the next sentence you want out of that person's mouth?
Can we collaborate and make this a big, beautiful production?
That's fantastic.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yes. I'll be like, okay, let's do this.
Mimi, thank you so much for joining us
Yeah.
today
Oh my gosh.
and for sharing your work with us.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me. Well, this was painless. I
Yeah.
thought you guys were gonna ask harsh questions and I'd be
This
crying
whole-
and like, I can't do this right now.
Tell us how the pain in your life has.
Oh, I forgot.
Oh.
Whoa.
Why Boston?
Why Boston?
Yeah, well, what brought you to Boston?
My family and I immigrated to this country 21 years ago. That's right, folks.
Oh.
21 years ago. And we've just kind of stayed around the Boston area. And I do love the theater scene here. And I do love the playwrights that I'm now starting to meet and admire their work. At first, it was really hard to it's still hard to navigate the system
Yeah.
here in Boston.
For sure.
But a lot of meaningful work is produced here in Boston. And I just want to give new artists an opportunity to share their perspectives and their voices here in Boston.
Like
so
you.
be kind, Boston, theater scene, be kind. All are welcome, not just those who are already established. Not a burden. That's all.
We won't name any names.
We won't name it.
Not on mic.
That's it.
All right. So without any further ado, here's the excerpt from Mimi Augustin's Shameless Breathing.
Shameless Breathing by Mimi Augustin, also known as Mimi Augustin. Act 1, Scene 3. Nurse's office in a psychiatric facility. Nina, a Haitian-American woman in her mid to late 20s, is sitting in a room with 2 empty chairs. There is a large white board behind one of the chairs with the patient's names in bold letters. Next to each name is a number. The number represents how many days they have left before they are discharged. Each woman's number is exactly the same, 6. A moment goes by, and the nurse, a woman in her 30s, walks in, does not look at Nina, and has a seat. She is holding a file.
How are you feeling today, Nina?
Tired.
Tired of life?
Just tired.
But tired in what way?
Well, it's 7:15 in the morning. You woke me up by yelling my name until I got up from bed. Didn't give me a chance to brush my teeth or wash my face. Dragged me in here and started asking me how I was feeling today. Tired.
I'm sensing some aggression.
Are you? I don't know why that could be.
We are here to help you, Nina. We wake you up early to give you a sense of structure during your stay.
We?
The team, me, the doctor, and the rest of the staff.
Oh, you mean the doctor that I got to speak to for exactly 15 minutes while he processed my paperwork?
Dr. Jose takes good care of his patients.
Right, by not listening and ignoring his patients.
We are here to help you. Have you been going to your group therapy sessions?
No.
It's your 3rd day here, Nina. You need to attend. You will benefit a great deal from them.
Don't I get a one-on-one session with a real therapist?
No, not here. The state does not cover that kind of care in these facilities. All we can offer are small group sessions.
How did I end up here? I mean, this particular facility. I have health insurance.
You have state-provided health insurance. Too much demand, not enough supply.
Right. Sucks to be poor.
Are we ready to start some antidepressants today?
Sure, but first tell me, what am I being medicated for?
You know why you're here.
I know what brought me here, but I don't know what caused or is causing me to be here.
So, we were thinking on starting
Have you
an
even
overdose
diagnosed me yet?
Pardon me?
Do you know what is wrong with me?
Well, that's what we are trying to figure out.
So you're trying to figure out what's wrong with me by medicating me first. Something seems a little off here.
You were referred to us by the ER doctors who treated you. Our job is to stabilize you and send you on your way.
With pills?
Antidepressants. Are you ready to take them?
No. Not today. Thank you.
When you're ready to receive help, we'll be here to listen, chérie.
Shelly?
Go to your session, chérie. I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Nina walks off stage. Lights dim on nurse's office, stage left. Lights are bright, stage right, the hallway. Steph, a white woman in her 50s and a frequent patient in this facility, is pacing back and forth in the hallway. There are 2 payphones, both being used by patients. There are 2 other patients, each waiting for their turn. Steph's pacing increases with each minute that goes by. She wants to yell at them, but knows the consequences of starting a fight. She continues to pace. This goes on for 3 minutes. Then the nurse comes out and announces,
"Cigarette break, ladies."
Steph contemplates whether or not she will go for a cigarette or stay and use the phone. She only has a few seconds to decide. She reaches for the phone while paying close attention to the other patients leaving. She starts to dial the phone number, and as the other patients are leaving, she makes a swift decision and chases after them. Her addiction wins. As Steph runs off stage, Nina enters. She sits center stage. There's a gust of wind. She looks around frightened. An older Haitian woman, Nina's mom, in a muumuu appears. Is she a figment of Nina's imagination? She wears a red and white scarf around her head and slippers on her feet. She kneels down and starts to stroke Nina's hair.
Ki sa ou ap fe la?
You know why I'm here.
Mwen te di, mwen ge yante, ke pou aranje problem ou yon.
No amount of tea can fix me, Mom.
Kame ou,
This isn't a sore throat. I'm sick. Mentally.
Manti,
It's not a lie. I'm depressed, Mom.
depres. Ou ge let nan tetou.
Milk in my head.
Oui. Parfois, le yon fam op bay tete, let la ka moute sou tet li. I see it in the village all the time. Woman breastfeeding, her husband out cheating. Then woman gets angry. Woman starts shouting. Woman becomes mean to her baby because the milk traveled to her brain because she's stressed. No such thing, depressed. White people say this word. My country, your country, this no word.
I know you don't believe it, Mom. I haven't forgotten junior year in high school.
Monty, you were fine. You just hung out with white kids. They tell you about depressed.
I tried to kill myself.
No, Monty, you drinking too much like those white kids. You're stupid, not depressed.
You just ignored me. Tea? Tea? You just kept giving me fucking tea.
I know God. I know tea. I did what I know.
The lights flicker. Mom exits stage right. Shameless Breathing was written by Mimi Augustin, also known as Mimi Augustin. To learn more about the playwright, go to mimiaugustin.com. Nina was played by Eva Hughes. Mother was played by Diane Walters. Nurse was played by Lauren Foster. The stage directions were read by Allison Lazar. Special thanks to our host and future featured playwright, Mary McCullough. Follow us on Twitter at BossPodPlay, BossPodPlay, and on Facebook. Please rate us on iTunes or your podcast player of choice. You can support us on Patreon at BossPodPlay. Playwrights, if you have a script, do not send it to us. We will never have time to get to it. Steal this podcast idea instead.
Our theme uses music from Snowman by the Nields. See www.nields.com for more info about their music. This podcast is edited by Alex Lagore.
On the next episode of Boston Podcast Players, we get into a little hoodoo.
Candy walks out of the back door to the yard where a headstone sits on a grave and talks to the occupant of the grave.
Evening, Mama. Thought you might want to know Miss Rosie's on her way. She died sitting straight up on top of that plastic cover on her couch. Looked like she was waiting for visitors.
Ballyhoo in the Hair Kitchen by Mary McCullough. Download it on the first Monday of the month.